I'd like to call this meeting of the Northwest Local School District Board of Education to order. Chris, if you would please call the roll.
Mr. Unger?
Here.
Mr. Harlow?
Here.
Mr. Healer?
Here.
Mrs. Detzel? Here. Mr. Detzel?
Here.
Mr. Nienaber, if you'd like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our next item is approval of minutes. Mr. Bowling.
The Treasurer and Superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the minutes as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call for a vote. The July 27th minutes are approved, 5-0. Legislative update, Mr. Harlow.
No report. They're off for the summer.
Thank you. That's good. Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Harlow.
What's that saying about no man is property or something is secure while the legislature is in session? Or
Yes, you're a historian as well. Butler Tech update, Mr. Detzel.
No report tonight. Our next meeting is the 18th of August.
Thank you, Jim. Our next item is report from employee organizations. Is there anyone here from an employee organization that would like to speak? Seeing no one, we will move on to our next item, which is a report from the classified employee organization. Is there anyone here that would like to speak? Seeing no one. Report from school-related organizations. Is there anyone from a school-related organization that would like to speak? Seeing no one. Community comments. Did anyone turn in a yellow card or request to speak? We'll move on to the next item. No one's requested to speak. Certificated licensed personnel, Mr. Bowling.
Yes, for certificated licensed personnel, you will see 1 certified resignation, 4 extra duty resignations, and 2 procedural extra duty resignations. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Classified personnel, Mr. Bowling.
Yes, for the classified retirements and resignations, we have 3 classified resignations, 2 procedural classified substitute resignations. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Fiscal item, Mr. Bowling.
Yes, for vendor contracts, we have 1 vendor contract listed. The superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education authorize the vendor contract as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Another fiscal item, Mr. Bowling.
Yes, accept the amended certificate of estimated resources. I'll turn this over to Amy Wells.
The county budget commission approves our amended certificate at $151 million, and then the board needs to accept the amended certificates throughout the year as the budget commission approves them.
The superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education accept the amended certificate of estimated resources as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I would like to remind everyone that all this information's been posted on our electronic school board site since Friday, so all the board members have, and the community has had a chance to review it. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. General business item.
Yes, at the last board meeting, we presented to you revised board policies. So we are looking for approval of changes for board policies EFF, EFG, and EF/EFB for food service management, free and reduced lunch standards as presented at the last meeting. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the revised board policies as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Certificated licensed personnel item, Mr. Bowling.
Yes, this was a pretty lengthy one, but we are looking for approval of certificated licensed personnel items. You will find 5 approval of certified initial contracts, 2 approval of administrative change in status, 6 approval of change in status, 1 approval of responsibility factor, 1 approval of extended service contract, 3 approval of preschool screening, 41 approval of special education summer work, 17 approvals of extra duty contracts, and a resolution to hire for non-licensed coaches. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? And all those lists are posted on this site after the conclusion of this meeting. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Chris, please call a vote. Did you have something?
I was just going to point out that one person that's getting a change in status due to her additional responsibilities sits up here on a regular basis, and that's Jenny Blast. Congratulations.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, please go ahead and vote. Motion carries 5-0. Classified personnel item.
Yes, as we have talked about trying to save money with transportation, we have purchased 2 vans to cut transportation costs by not having to outsource special education routes. So this is a special needs van driver job description that we need for info and action tonight, so that we can hire 2 van drivers to go with the 2 vans that we have purchased. This will save us funds from using UTS. We'll be able to keep it in-house, and it should save a lot of money for the district. So the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the special needs van driver job description as listed.
So moved. Second.
So the move and the second on that was? Okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. You have to have a pretty sharp ear over there, don't you? Next item,
Yes,
classified
next item is
personnel.
classified personnel items. We have 5 classified initial appointments, 2 approval of classified substitutes, 2 classified administrative change in status, and 1 classified change in status. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just curious, Todd, the signs have been all over for bus drivers, hiring, how's that coming along?
Coming along, we are working with Stephanie Kessling and Amy and myself on the possibility of raising substitute pay, because that's basically what they're going for. If they're $1 more somewhere else, then that's where it's going to go. But we do have signs everywhere. I know Terry and Barb and Melanie are working hard at getting as many as they can. So we're approving DMVs that Chris and I get and trying to get as many as we can. Okay.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. The motion carries 5-0. A miscellaneous item.
Yes, this miscellaneous item is the OSBA Policy Service Agreement, and it's something that the board joins on a yearly basis. The superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the miscellaneous item as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Fiscal item for, go ahead, Mr. Bowling.
Yes, I'd like to turn this over to Amy Wells to discuss the availability of our financial records online. You've had her report at several meetings, and she's got some more information she'd like to share with you.
We had sent April, the month of April, and we're going to be sending May to the State Treasurer's Office for the online checkbook when they had let us know that they could not load unless they had a full fiscal year. So we sent them fiscal year 2015, which they have loaded into their system, and then Dan and Michael and Chris sat through a webinar last week to view what they have out there, and looks pretty good. I mean, they have the information, easy to read, I think, for the general public. What they want to know is if we want more years, prior years, out there when they release it after Labor Day, or if we just want to go forward. So Dan,
I think during that discussion, they mentioned that several other districts who have signed up since us have submitted 3 or 5 years, and it would just balance out the site a little more if we had 3 or 5.
yeah, just remember, there have been some coding changes, and so while the information may be there, it's not going to be consistent between years, so as people are trying to view information.
Now, as you go back, I know we had discussed that you were making some coding changes from past years to bring it into,
You can't change prior year information.
Okay.
You can only go forward. So the coding changes are applied forward during last year and going in future years, and most of them became effective July 1 with the new fiscal year.
and that's
the new
because
budgets.
previously we had coded things differently.
They're just more detailed now,
But it-
using the USAS model, which is put out by the Auditor State's Office.
Would it be
Yes,
a
they are.
problem to go back 5 years? Amy, I mean, how, with the different coding, is there something we could put on there just so people can refer back?
The information we put out there, there's nothing you can put on there as to let people know why things are different. It's just, the information's just there as a database.
So if somebody looked up what we spent on a information board, it might be coded differently in 12 than it would be in 15, let's say.
Correct.
But the vendors, I mean, unless we change vendors, the vendors are the same.
And what we paid would be the same
Or-
too.
Yeah, your vendor information is correct, the amount you paid is correct, it just may show to a different department, or it may show as administrative costs versus instructional costs, things like that.
Well, I'd say let's go back 5 years then.
I'm fine, as long as it's not any expense for us to send that additional information. I mean, is it just, at this point, since it's older than a year, is it just a file that you just ship to them?
Yes.
As long as it's no expense, I'd say, I'd agree with that.
You want,
Comments, or,
how many years do you want out there then?
5,
5, okay.
great. Thanks, Amy. I appreciate all the effort. It's been a real learning experience to see how that works, and I thought the webinar went well, and I think it's a good thing.
So, Dan, how many school districts have signed up for it?
Did they comment on that, Amy? I know that there's the City of Toledo Schools has signed up. A number of other larger districts larger than us have joined in. So I don't know what the total is, but it should be accessible to everyone before Labor Day. But they did break through the technological issue, was my understanding. I think they've gotten past that now.
They've gotten SSDT to write the program so that every school in the state can send their information, and then they're going to go live after Labor Day.
And I think that's great that all the schools, and I think going back to the beginning of this, that's kind of why I wanted to be in the first group, so people would adapt to us rather than us having to adapt to others. So, great. Next item is community communications. Is there anyone in the audience that has a question about anything that was discussed here this evening? Come on now.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Okay, we'll move on to our next item.
Yes.
Other board item. Oh, I'm sorry, other board items, Todd.
Yes, the board needs to appoint a board member as a delegate to attend the annual business meeting of OSBA and one alternate for the annual business meeting on November 9th. So I figured you guys would arm wrestle for this one.
I'm already the alternate for Butler Tech.
That doesn't, so you'll already be there. Well, Pam, what do you think?
I think if he's the alternate for that, he could be the alternate. I think we need to decide who's, are you
I'm planning to go.
I'm going to attend. If
Hard for me unless it's a Wednesday, Dan.
okay. So we need a delegate. Are you interested in either position, Pam?
No, thank you.
You didn't have your mic on, Pam.
No, thank you.
Do you want to be the
Dan and
delegate?
Michael, thanks for volunteering.
Sure.
You can be the delegate and I'll be the alternate.
Yes.
Okay.
That'll work. 9th and 10th, right? 9th, 10th, 11th.
Is Monday the 9th?
Yes,
Okay.
Monday's the 9th.
Great.
10th, and the 11th is, usually there's something in the morning, the 11th.
All right. So does that satisfy the question?
Do we need to make a motion?
You need to take a vote.
Okay.
Well, I motion that you're the alternate.
No, he's the
delegate.
Oh, you're the delegate.
Yeah. And Jim's, I guess Jim's the alternate, or Dan's the alternate, because he's already,
Michael Harlow be the delegate to the OSBA business meeting on November the 9th, and Dan Unger be the alternate to said meeting.
Will you second that?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I guess you just call a roll, or is there a? Okay, so that's what the motion will be, is just that, and the motion carries 5-0. Our next item is.
Could I interrupt one time before we go to board comments?
Sure.
I need a date for the administrative retreat with the Board of Education. So for our board retreat, we were looking at Wednesday, August 19th, from 5 to 9.
That works.
I think for most of you, what you sent me, that would work.
We're at,
That's fine.
I'll determine a location, let you know. It'll be here or Houston.
August 19th, at 5 o'clock till 9. I will try to be there by 5. It might be 5:30, but.
That's fine.
I just,
All right, thank you.
because Pam was checking.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, is everybody good with that, Jim? Okay. Was there any other, so we took the motion, you've done that, so now we're on to other board items. Let me go to meeting 17-1. Next item. Board member comments, Mr. Detzel.
I don't have any, Dan.
Mr. Heather?
Dan, nothing from here.
Pam?
I'm going to pass myself.
Mr. Harlow?
I'm just going to say, although I think people that usually watch this are kind of up on it, people who are new to the district do need to get registered prior to the start of the school year. We had kind of a deluge towards the end of the summer last year, and we're getting to that point again this year. And if you're about to register a child for school, or a child's about to start school in the district, please be sure to get him or her registered.
The sooner the better. That
Yes.
keeps us from getting overrun at the last minute. We're looking forward to all of our new students, and that's coming up soon. Right, Mr. Bowling?
Sooner than we think.
Yes, it is, and you're excited for your first full year as superintendent. I know things are going to be just as smooth as glass.
Yeah, folks can start looking for
Open houses, curriculum nights, all of that will be starting. Teacher in-service 20th and 21st, and school starts on the 24th. So, like I said, before you bat an eye, it'll be here.
Thank you, Todd. My comment would be, we always welcome members of youth scouting organizations that are required to attend local government meetings. And I'd like to welcome Justin Nienaber here from our troop. And I know it's a short meeting, and you've probably picked the shortest meeting of the year to come to, but I will be able to sign off on it for you since I actually see you in the audience. So, do you have any questions or comments about this? Okay.
This is a really quick one.
I used to sit out there and be shy also. I should have kept doing that, but I ended up here. So with that, we'll move on to our next item. And thank you, by the way, for coming. Our next item is adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call for an adjournment vote. Motion carries 5-0, and this meeting is adjourned.